guys, welcome back. I know that I said that I would be posting on Sundays. However, one of my subscribers, one of my fellow true crime lovers, had messaged and said that they could not wait to hear the next story. So I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and do my research, and as soon as my research is done, I'm going to go ahead and film the next video and go ahead and post it. So I will be posting at least once a week, possibly more than once a week, because you know I have to give my subscribers what they want. So I want to give a big shout out to Tanya for liking my videos and liking what I'm doing and letting me know that. I enjoy the fact that she let me know that. So big shout out to Tanya. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, I know I do the reviews, and today I just want to talk about one of my favorite vacation spots that I've ever been to. And I've been to several places. I've been to the ocean, to the mountains. I've been to the Rocky Mountains, to the Smoky Mountains. Well, today we're going to talk about Smoky Mountains. So today, I want to just let you guys know that, you know, Smoky Mountains is a great place to vacation at. You've got Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Townsend area. You've got, it's such a big area. And there's so much to do. So you got Cades Cove. Now what Cades Cove is one of my favorite places to go. It's really big on seeing, you see bear a lot out at Cades Cove. They have horses out there. You see deer, you see fox. There's just different animals that you can see while you're going around through there. They have old log cabins that you can actually go in and they tell us the story. They have plaques that actually tell us the story of the cabin. There's old churches. There's just so much to do at Cades Cove, and it's a scenic loop, so you can actually drive through it, and they have pull-off areas where you can actually park and go look at these things. It's a really nice place. Gatlinburg in Tennessee, they have dinner shows, different dinner shows. They have different museums. Pigeon Forge has what's called the Island. And the island has different restaurants, different shopping centers. There's a huge Ferris wheel. There is a fountain, like a big pool fountain that has lights, and the water shoots up to the beats of the light, and they put on it puts on every couple of hours a show with music. Gatlinburg has what's called the Over, and it's a sky lift, and it goes up the mountain. There's the Ripley's Aquarium in Gatlinburg. They have different shopping centers, restaurants, all kinds of museums. There's just tons and tons of stuff to do. There's hiking trails, waterfalls, caves, different, I mean, there's just so much to do in the Smoky Mountains. You got the Knife Works, which is a knife museum. I mean, there's just tons and tons of stuff to do. If you're planning a vacation, I would highly recommend the Smoky Mountains. It's a beautiful, beautiful, fun place. There's something for everybody there. There's not one person that goes there that you can't find something that you're interested in and that you want to do. So go check it out. It's great. And I will post some pictures, different pictures of the area, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. So, like I said, for sure, if you've never been, for sure go and visit. You will not be disappointed. So for today's story, I do have to give a disclaimer. So here goes. Okay, warning. Adult content, adult language, and very descriptive language, and they're very descriptive pictures of crime scenes. discretion is advised. Okay guys, so today's story is called The Girl Scout Murders. And I did want to let you guys know that I did have to leave a lot of information that I found about this out. There's a lot of information to this. I have like 10 pages of notes that I handwritten when I was doing my research, and I had to condense that down. So this is a long video, so buckle up, sit back in your seats, get ready for the ride, make sure you got some snacks and stuff to drink, so that way you can just relax and enjoy the story. Okay, so it's called The Girl Scout Murders, and this story takes place at Camp Scott in Mays County, Oklahoma. Now, Camp Scott, it opened in 1928, and it didn't close until 1977. Now, Camp Scott is 410 acres. It can hold up to 140 campers and 30 staff members. Now, it's broke down into 10 camping units, and each camping unit is broke down into different tent numbers. And I'm pretty sure that there's like something like 10. I couldn't find an exact number, but from what I was seeing in pictures and of the camp and different things, the camping units is broke down into 10 different camps, or 10 different tents, and each tent is given a number 1 through 10. And that's how the girls that went there would be assigned. They would be assigned to a camping unit and then assigned to a tent number. Now, each camping unit was given a different name. And our story takes place in the Kiowa unit, camping unit or tribe. Okay, so before I actually get started and get into the story, before we jump in there, I did want to let you know that I am filming this again while I'm at work. So if you hear any background noise, any wind, any cars going by, my GPS, I apologize. I'm going to be just honest with you guys. I tried filming at home in my last video, and I just get really nervous doing this because I'm just afraid that you guys may not like it, or you may, I don't know, just dislike it, or so I just get, I don't know, lots of thoughts run through my head. I just get really nervous, and to me it just, where I'm focusing on driving and not having to constantly look into the camera, it almost makes me feel like I'm looking into the eyes of my audience, and it just makes me really nervous. I guess I'm just really stage fright, so this helps me out doing this at work. So I apologize for the background noise, but this is the easiest way for me to do this, and I enjoy doing it. It keeps me busy. It keeps my mind busy. And that's just something I really need right now, is to keep my mind busy. Because, well, I had something bad happen. A family tragedy happened just a few months back, but I don't really want to talk about that. So, this is helping me out. This is why I'm doing this. One, because I love true crime. I've always loved true crime. And two, this just really keeps my mind busy and gives me something to do. So, okay, so our story. Our story, as I said, takes place at Camp Scott in Mays County, Oklahoma. Now, this happens on June 13th, 1977. Oh, side note. And if you see me looking, I'm looking at my notes because I do not want to tell you guys something that's not true. I'm just kind of double checking myself because it's a lot of information, and I just really want to make sure I don't say a wrong date or something of that nature. So if you see me looking at my notes, that's why. Okay, so it takes place on June 13th, 1977. Now, there are 3 victims, and the youngest victim is Lori Lee Farmer, age 8, and then you have Heather, let me just double check her, it's Michelle Heather Gus, age 9, and then Doris Denise Milner, age 10. Now, the suspect in this, his name is Gene Leroy Hart. And we're going to talk about him because, as I said in my last video, I want to just kind of go back on these suspects' history, find out where they grew up at, what kind of a childhood they had, because, their childhood and the way they grew up could possibly be something that triggered them to make them do the horrible things that they did. So I just want to kind of give some background information on the suspects. That way maybe we can all just kind of understand what caused them to be the way they are. Okay, so Gene Leroy Hart. Okay, so now Gene was born November 27th, 1943 in Claremore, Oklahoma. Now he was raised by his mother and barely knew his father. Now in high school, I couldn't find much about his earlier years, like elementary and things like that, but in high school he was a very good athlete. He played football, and locally he was known as a football star. There was a couple of articles that talked about the team and the high school, and they actually mentioned Gene in the articles. So he was a pretty good athlete. Now, right after graduating high school, he actually got married and he had a son. But after, the couple had the son, his wife filed for divorce. Now, I couldn't find any real information as to why, what was going on in the relationship, why his wife filed for divorce. I couldn't find any information on that. I couldn't find out the name of the wife or the son. I couldn't find the name of his mother. So there was stuff that, I couldn't find. Maybe they just wanted to keep the family's names quiet so that, they didn't get attacked by media or that kind of thing. But as you know, a lot of the media would do that. Now, he did have a criminal background. In 1966, he actually raped 2 pregnant women, and he actually got caught and got convicted and sent to jail. Now, in 1973, he actually escaped jail, and he was actually on the run and stayed on the run until he got caught after the murders that we're going to talk about. Now, less than 2 months prior to the murders, at Camp Scott, they held an on-site training session for all the camp counselors and staff. And one of the camp counselors, after a day of training, actually went to they're back to their tents. And when they got back to their tent, now they had discovered that somebody had got into their tent and just kind of went through their stuff, and, seeing to find them what they could find. And the only thing that had been taken was her glasses, a pair of glasses, and she had some donuts, and the donuts had been ate. And in the bottom of the donut box, there was actually a note. And in all capital letters, in one part of the note, it says, "We are on a mission to kill 3 girls in 1 tent." Now, the camp director looked at the note, and I had found some information. I don't know if it's true or just hearsay, but I had found some information that inside the note, they were also talking about Martians and different just crazy things. So the camp director actually just disregarded it and said it was a prank, that it was nothing to worry about. So there was nothing ever done about the note, and it did get discarded. So the investigators and things couldn't actually look at the note because it was discarded. It was just thrown away. Okay, so now on June 12, 1977, 140 little girls was dropped off at the Girl Scout Convention Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, they were later, after a head count and unit and tents, they separated them into units and tents and assigned them to different tents and units. They loaded onto a bus and was drove 40 miles to Camp Scott. There, they unloaded and took their luggage and different things to their tents. Now, Lori, Denise, Sorry, I'm trying to pay attention to the traffic. But Lori, Denise, and Michelle, they were assigned to Tent 8 in the Kiowa, I hope I'm saying that right, unit. Now, there was a fourth little girl that was supposed to have been placed with them, but she got assigned to a different unit and tent by mistake. So they were going to actually move her to that tent that night, but it actually stormed really bad that night. So they actually did not reassign her to the tent she was supposed to be in. So lucky for her, she wasn't reassigned to the place that she was supposed to have been. So she actually is still living because of that one mistake. Okay, now Tent 8 was the furthest away from the camp counselor's tent and the furthest away from all the other tents. It was the most isolated tent in the unit that Lori, Michelle, and Denise were in. I'm going to put my sunglasses on. Give me a second. The sun's starting to shine pretty bad. Now, at 7 p.m. that night, all the girls was in the dinner hall at their units, and they ate dinner there at the dinner hall. Now, as I said, it stormed, so after they all ate dinners, they all just went back to their tent for the night because they couldn't really do any activities or anything because it was storming. Now, Lori, Michelle, and Denise all was bored, and they decided to just take that opportunity to go ahead and write their first letters home that would be mailed back to their home. Okay, so now 8-year-old Lori writes, "We're just getting ready for bed. It's 7:45. I couldn't wait to write. We're all writing now because there's nothing else to do." And little 9-year-old Michelle writes, "Dear Aunt Karen, how are you? I am fine. I am writing from camp. We can't go outside because it is storming. Me and my tent mates are in the last tent in our unit. My tent mates are Denise Milner and Lori Farmer. My room is purple. Love, Michelle." Okay, now this is the one that got to me. I cried when I read this. It's super sad. Okay, so here goes. Little 10-year-old Denise writes, "I don't like camp. It is awful. Mom, I don't want to stay at camp for 2 weeks. I want to come home and see Cassie and everybody." Okay, so how sad is that? That is the last thing the little girls wrote. And Denise just had, you can tell she just has a bad feeling. And she was right. She was right to have the bad feeling. So it's super sad that that's the last thing that the girls would ever write. Okay, so about 1:30 a.m., Carla Wilhite, I think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not 100% sure. She heard what she described as like moaning or animal sounds. So she shined her flashlight in the direction of the noise. Now the noise stops, and usually if it's an animal making noises and you shine a light at them, they get scared when they stop making noises. So she didn't see anything in that direction, and she shined her light all around in every direction, didn't see anything. So she just assumed and disregarded the noise as if it was an animal. So she just went back to bed, not thinking anything was wrong. So there was several other campers all around that actually also reported hearing the same noises and also seeing a flashlight. But they didn't, they thought the same thing, you know, they thought it was an animal, and they just went back to bed. 2 a.m., a girl in tent 7 actually seen the flapped tent 8 open, and a figure stand in the doorway of the tent with a flashlight and kind of look around. Now, I stood there for a second, this person did, or this figure, and then just kind of shut the flap back and walked away. Now, she said she was confused by this and scared a little, but she didn't really know what she could do, and it didn't seem like anything real bad, so she just went back to bed. Now, a nearby landowner, Jack Schroff, reported about 2:30 to 3 a.m. that he heard vehicle traffic in the area that he knew should not be there. He knew that there shouldn't be vehicles in the area at that time. At 3 a.m. in a nearby camping unit called Cherokee, there was a few girls that had heard a scream. Now, it scared them, and they were too scared to get out of their tent or do anything about it, and they didn't hear anything else, so they just eventually, after listening for a while and not hearing nothing else, went back to sleep. At the same time, in another camping unit, a girl reported hearing a scream, and then it sounded like a little girl saying mama. Now, she had went camping with Lori before, and she said that the last time that she had went camping with Lori, that Lori had got scared and cried for her mom. So she really didn't think anything of it. She thought it was Lori maybe getting scared again. So she didn't report it or say anything. So she actually just let it go and went back to sleep. At 6 a.m. the next morning, Carla, the camp counselor that heard the noises the night before, was taking a job toward the showers. Now, this is the same direction she heard the noises come from. And under a tree, she spots 3 sleeping bags. Now, she thinks that it's just leftover luggage from, the kids arriving the day before. So she goes over to retrieve them and take them to the lost and found. But upon reaching the first sleeping bag, she finds and discovers the body of Denise. Now, Denise had been beaten, and we'll go into further detail of the cause of her death, but she immediately sees that this girl's dead and that she had been beaten. So she was too scared to check the other 2 sleeping bags, so she goes and she alerts the rest of the counselors and the staff. One thing I did forget to mention about that, she did scream, so the nearby staff that was close to her, they all gathered quickly, and the campers was trying to come out, and they did stop the campers, but after, the rest of them calmed down for a minute, then that's when they actually alerted the rest of the staff and kept the kids away and actually called the police. When the police arrived, the coroner's office went to the other 2, they were expecting 1 body. They weren't expecting 3, but they went to the other 2 sleeping bags, and they actually unzipped them, and there they found the bodies of Lori and Michelle. Now, both Lori and Michelle were both in fetal position, laying in fetal position and wrapped in bloody sheets, which told the investigators that they had actually been carried from their tent to the area. Now, both of those girls died from blunt force trauma to the head, and it was later discovered during the investigation that they actually died when they was asleep. So they didn't actually see anything coming, didn't know that anything was going to happen to them. So they wasn't scared. They were asleep. So maybe that would give their parents a little bit of peace of mind knowing that their kid wasn't scared before this happened. Little 10-year-old Denise, it was different with her. It was actually found later in the investigation that she actually died where that the bodies was found. She was half naked. She had been sexually assaulted and beaten. She was beaten in the face so bad that there was indentions left in her face. But her actual cause of death was strangulation. Now, the poor girl, she had to have seen the attackers and seen the other girls, what happened to them. And it's just, she suffered. And I feel so bad for this poor girl and the parents, knowing that their kid went through that. And now they did find a flashlight laying next to her body. It was a red flashlight. And on the inside of the flashlight, there was a clipping or a piece of a newspaper that was actually holding the battery to where it would get connection. Now, they did find 1 bloody fingerprint on the flashlight lying beside Denise. but when they put it in the system, they couldn't find any matches or who the fingerprint belonged to. One thing I did forget to mention about all three girls was bound with elastic bands. So all three of them were bound there. And they found duct tape and rope where the bodies was found, the scene where the bodies was found. Okay, so when investigators went to the tent that the girls was in, that the two girls was murdered in, the tent 8, and investigated there, they found that the killer had actually tried to clean up the blood. There was blood, you could tell because there were smears in the blood on the floor in the tent, and then on the mattresses you could tell that the blood had been smeared. And they also found towels, bloody towels, that was used to try to clean up the blood. Now, investigators did find on some of the duct tape a long black
Turn right
hair
onto Starshoot Parkway
at the crime scene. Now, Jack, the neighbor, the one that had reported the vehicle noise, the noise from the vehicles that shouldn't have been there. Now, he was actually the investigators' first suspect. They went and they questioned him,
turn right
and
onto
later
Liberty
got
Road.
a warrant to search his property. And they actually found duct tape, the elastic bands, and the rope that they had found at the scene. They found exact same types at his property. But he had told them and reported, his stuff, his property,
Turn right
his
onto Liberty
buildings,
Road.
and his house had been broken into, and he wasn't at that time sure exactly what all was stolen from the property. Now, I guess the reason that they wanted to suspect him as a suspect was because, he grew up around the area, knew about the camp, when it started, when the girls would be there. He just knew a lot about the area,
1.5 miles.
and they didn't have nothing else to go on. But now he was later given a lie detectors test, and he passed it with flying colors. So they then knew that he was telling the truth, that people had stole stuff from his property, that he didn't do it. So his name was cleared, and they gave up on the fact of him being the person that done it. So they keep investigating the area. They look further through the area just to try to find any clues as to who done this horrible thing. And they find a cave. Now, at this cave, they find the rest of the newspaper. You remember the newspaper piece that was in the actual flashlight? So they find that. They find, one thing that I did forget to mention was that the girls, and I'm so sorry I left this out, but the girls actually, all the other girls got evacuated from the camp. And upon getting their things from the camp, they realized that there had been several personal items, personal care items stolen, and several pairs of the girls' glasses was missing. So now in this cave, they find pairs of glasses that had been stolen from the camp. They find this newspaper, but they also find, and the most important thing I think that they find in here, is they find 2 pictures of 2 women, and they don't know who they are. So upon
In a quarter mile, turn left.
finding out who was in the pictures, they realize that the pictures link to Jean Leroy Hart, because it is the 2 women that he got convicted of raping. So something else that they found in the cave was a note that had been sketched on the wall of the cave, and it was 77-6-17. The killer was here. Bye-byes, fool. Now, how the investigators got the idea to go look for this cave anyway was there was a couple of local hunters that had reported seeing a wanted convict, an escaped convict, leaving the cave. Yes, Jean Leroy Hart. Now, remember, he had been on the run because he escaped jail in 73. This was in 77. So he had been on the run for 4
In
years
1,000
already.
feet, turn right onto Elkhorn
You know,
Road.
remember he raped the 2 girls, you know, the ones in the picture that was found in the cave. So that's how they figured out that the cave was there.
Turn right onto
So
Elkhorn
now
Road.
they had their suspect. And of course, they're going to release this information. And of course, you know, he was the football star of the community.
In 600
So,
feet, turn right.
local people, you know, the people in the community was like, there's no way he did this, you know, because he was the star, you know, he was the local star. So, and everybody liked him. Nobody believed that he could do this. So they feel like that's how, and they didn't think that he had raped the girls either. So they feel like that's how he was able to evade the law for so long, was because he was getting help from people in the community.
Turn.
Search for Gene, it went on for 10 months. And, you know, they finally found him at a home. And then when they went in, the investigators went in and searched the home to see if they could find any evidence that, you know, put him there at the murders. They found several items that had been stolen from the camp, including the glasses that was stolen 2 months prior to the murders. Now, when investigators had investigated the tent, they had found a bloody footprint that was a 9.5. Okay, so keep that in mind. Remember that, because it's going to be important during the trial. Now, Gene was charged with murder charges, and when he went to trial for the murder charges, his lawyer argued that Gene wore a size 11, and the footprint that they found at the scene was only a 9.5. And Denise had sperm on her. They had found sperm on her. And Gene had had a vasectomy, so they also argued that it couldn't have been Gene. Now, he was acquitted of all charges because of those 2 pieces of evidence didn't match. You know, it didn't tie him. So therefore, there wasn't enough evidence against him. So he was acquitted of all charges. But Gene, however, even though he was acquitted of the charges, he did go back to jail to finish out his sentence that he got convicted for the rape of those women. And about a month later, he actually died of a heart attack, and he died on June 4th of 1979. Okay. Now, many years down the road, you know, DNA testing and that kind of thing actually become better. So they was actually able to do DNA testing on the black hair that they had found on the crime scene, and that did, in fact, match Gene. And they did DNA testing on the sperm, and now that did not match Gene, which we already knew it wasn't. So the case was cold. You know, they do in fact now today know that Gene was one of the killers, but they also now know that there was another killer involved as well. It wasn't just Gene. So these families never got closure as to who all was involved in killing their daughters. It's just a sad, sad thing, you know. And the community, I'm sure, once they found out that the DNA matched Gene, just felt bad for helping him hide for all that time and all those years. So it's just a sad story. It's sad that that happened. I do have pictures that I'm going to upload on the end of the video for you guys to take a look at. They're not too bad. Again, I won't post anything that's really bad because I just don't want to do that to you guys. But let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know your thoughts on it. I just think it's just a sad, sad thing. But it's just... And if you have any other ideas for any other stories that you want me to cover, just let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe and like if you like listening to these true crime stories. And again, thank you guys I really, like I said, I really enjoy doing this. So I would love to hear from you guys what you think about it. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you guys stay safe out there, be careful, and I'll talk to you guys next time.